was with Big Zay, Zay Tiki. Shout out, love my city. Tell you no cap, no kissing. Had to go pray a little harder, even though devil ain't been too busy. Really, I'm like, where is it? Try to go spin, got dizzy. It's a whole new world outside, I put that on Walt Disney. It's a whole lot of hate outside, everybody quit the envy. If you gon' try to slide, remember that tomb is empty. Yeah, I'ma lean on God, rest in peace to Pimp C.
Church, see what I'm saying? Hard work, see what I'm saying? I'ma give him that praise, I'ma clap my hand. Tell the Lord I'm a real big fan. He really got me out that jam. Gave me grace and held my hand and gave me bread when I bought that land. Feel so good, I'ma call my boy. I'ma make a joyful noise. Put my faith on 10, repent my sins, ain't got no choice. Big kid name, I speak the truth. I'ma say hallelujah. God really good, I'm proved. You can add my pot a little 1K few.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 136 of the SplashCast, the Around the League edition, Monday Night Raw. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'm your co-host, Reggie.
I'm your co-host, Norwood. Our powers combined, we are your HBCU homeboys, and thank you for spending your Monday night doing it raw with me and Reggie.
Hey, man, we appreciate y'all, man. Y'all know what it is. We start out with our HBCU news around the culture, followed by our football news around the league and basketball news around the league. Let's get into it. Man, shout out. Let's get right into some news. So, when it comes to this SplashCast, we tell you that we are your HBCU homeboys. We have always been preaching that there is a lot of overlooked talent and a lot of overlooked talent in HBCU ranks, both players and coaching wise. Well, now it's starting to make mainstream, and social media is starting to bring light to it. There were many videos, this just being one of them, about different football players that are all in the NFL. And that the HBCUs are being overlooked, which I think is going to change. Let's take a listen.
People are talking about. Some of the best players in the history of football come from historically black colleges and universities. These include guys such as Jerry Rice, Walter Payton, Shannon Sharp, and many more. Even currently in the league, there's a lot of HBCU talent. Teron Armstead, Shaq Leonard, and Javon Hargrave. Despite their rich history, only one HBCU player was taken in the NFL draft last year. Jackson State's Isaiah Bolden at pick 245. Now, you could argue that these guys aren't being drafted because of their competition level. But just look at Packers rookie running back Emmanuel Wilson. He went undrafted out of Fort Valley State, a D2 school, and is now getting meaningful reps in the playoffs. I understand this video may not reach any NFL scouts or the NFL at all for that matter, but if there was one HBCU player you need to keep an eye on this spring, it's Southern safety Jordan Carter. This fall alone, Carter totaled 63 tackles to go with 4 interceptions and 10 passes defended. One of those picks came in this year's Bayou Classic, where he also tallied 8 tackles and held the opposing QB to a 39.6 passer rating when targeted. I mean, the tape speaks for itself. This man flies around the field and is the hardest hitting DB in the SWAC. JC is just one of the many great prospects coming out of HBCU programs this year. So NFL, wake up, because you're missing out on a lot of great talent. The NFL has...
I truly appreciate this video. I know it's not fair for me to say, but I'm gonna say it. I wonder what motivated him to make this video.
Shout out for however you found it. Whatever you were doing, it was something that needed to be done. Respect and kudos.
Yeah. Yeah, J.C. Carter for Southern is a beast, man. He is a monster. I do expect him to play well. And they didn't even talk about Jacoby Durant or any of these other guys that are HBCU players.
Correct.
Cordero Hodge for the Falcons went to Prairie View. Like, you have a lot of them. So I do like that they're starting to get a lot of recognition. Whether I had an interesting talk with some older HBCU alum, my father, his friends, and he said, it's good that HBCUs are getting the attention, whether people are seeking the attention as a fad, whether people are seeking the attention and they're genuine and they want to see the HBCUs flourish. Good attention will always be welcomed. And when you look at it that way, that's you can't get mad at it.
Well, I mean, there are multiple things. You're right. Number one, just getting the attention. It kind of is what it is. However it gets it. If you're the other part is due to due to ferociousness of that specific demographic, if you're doing something disingenuous, it does
I'm
not
sorry. I don't
last
mean to
very
interrupt your
long.
thought. Start that. Say that again. Due to the
ferociousness of this demographic, I've had a lot lately. As we continue to grow the podcast, I've been speaking to a lot of people, and one thing that HBCU culture has is it has a strong demographic that is consistent. It's not fly by night. It's multi-generational, and everybody who's in it has a pretty high level commitment. That doesn't really span other sports. That doesn't span other sports brands. Like we know these other like mid-tiered schools that have a lot more people. They don't care about their school or their conference nearly to the same degree that we do. So if you're messing around and you're being fake or disingenuous or just doing it for the clip, you won't last long here. So
yeah.
you just doesn't work that way. We have a high degree of responsibility. So I'm happy about the highlighting. Continue it, please. And for me, it's you and I have similar opinions on how they wait and don't draft HBCU players
on purpose
during the draft for whatever
on purpose.
reason.
I want to make that
as
known.
much
It's
as
on
it
purpose.
is, like there are only 3 or 4 teams where you can say that you don't, and I don't think that anybody can really say that they don't need good players, but it's so many bad teams that I for the life of me can't understand why if there's good players, you're not getting them. Falcons, Panthers,
You set me up.
Bears.
I agree.
Like
I don't understand. I do understand. I know whatever you want to say, it's on purpose. Why they're not Isaiah Land right now was their season is over with, but was the starting linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. He was projected to be a 3rd through 5th round pick, and then he went undrafted. And there was no reason for him to go undrafted. There's no reason that if he starts for you, you knew he has the chance to start. You knew that he was worth drafting. And the Cowboys, for example, decided they got lucky and got him because you then play that game of, he went to a HBCU. More than likely, he's not going to be drafted. He'll be there. And now you're slighting me on my money. So you need to do the correct thing and actually draft the players that are worthy of being drafted. I mean, look at Jalen Reeves-Maybin out there. He go to Jackson State, transfer from Florida. Playing well.
That's the overarching thing for me more than anything is y'all need good players. Go get the good players and stop playing. It's too many of your teams that suck. And if you suck, you need to be worried about good players, not where they came from.
Yes, sir.
That's all I got for you.
Moving on, man. Moving on. So, shout out to the Detroit Lions GM Brad Holmes. He is an alumni of North Carolina A&T State University and State University. He has now put together the team and the staff that took the Detroit Lions, or is taking, the Detroit Lions to their first playoff win since 1991 and their first NFC championship game since 1991 with Barry Sanders. So shout out to Brad Holmes, and we played a video last week of him so excited and screaming screaming out of joy on the elevator after they won. What?
Joel Embiid has 59 points, Lord, and it's 8 minutes and 37 seconds left. But he did. Oh, Lord. MVP.
The process. But shout out to Brad Holmes, man. He is doing something that is unprecedented. Whatever award he's up for, he has to have. There's no way he can't win.
Yeah. Congratulations. We just love this. Number one, the Detroit Lions, we've been supporting. Well, at least I have. I've had a close watch on since about midway through last season when they just had this miraculous turnaround. And to later find out that there is a HBCU alum that's at the head and the forefront of this. I mean, we got to start looking at things. You got 2 HBCU alums on First Take. You got one here for the Detroit Lions. We have 2 more with the Baltimore Ravens. But we're providing we're providing a ton of value.
Yep.
A ton. Let's be very clear about that.
And we were talking about the Baltimore Ravens before we get there. Cat Williams had 41 points in 19 minutes in the first half.
Cat Williams?
I mean, I'm sorry, Cat. Well, yeah, sure. No, Cat. Carl Anthony Towns.
What? Hey. Hold on. Hold on. When y'all watch that, remember what Becky said. I was kind of like, who was playing Cat Williams in basketball?
Prince. That's
I was confused. I was like, why would you play Cat Williams right now? You can tell he's a superhero. He read 5 books a day for 3 years. What you talking? And y'all want to play basketball? He just ran a 4.4. You better leave him alone.
Carl Anthony Towns has 41 points with 2 minutes to go in the first half.
Hey, everybody talked trash about them last year. Oh, they suck. Rudy Gobert sucks. But y'all got to say now. That's all I want to hear all year is what people got to say. Y'all talking bad about James Harden?
All right, we're going to go get on the basketball tangent. Back to it. Hampton University Pirates, more HBCU excellent. Kerry Dixon is the assistant quarterbacks coach for the Baltimore Ravens. Sashi Brown is the team president. You remember in Cleveland, they tried to do him dirty. He set that franchise up to get all of those players, including Myles Garrett, with all of those picks that he acquired, and then they fired him and brought in a milk of magnesia to take over.
Don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes.
But shout out to Kerry Dixon, man. Started out at Baylor, transferred to Hampton. Was an all around. He was a do it all player. And then of course Sashi Brown. So shout out to you guys. Hey, look, man, I'm telling y'all, Falcons, keep playing. I'm going right on to Baltimore. Be right on over there, Bird Gang.
I hate to say it, but Hampton, y'all ain't. I mean, not Hampton, Lord, no, not Hampton. Falcons, y'all not really helping yourselves at this point. And we want to support y'all, but we also don't want to support y'all. So whatever the hell you want to do.
Oh Lord,
govern yourself accordingly.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the HBCU alum in the playoffs. In the championship games, what if Baltimore and Detroit meet in the Super Bowl?
Fantastic.
That would be crazy.
I don't have no problem with that.
It's 1, 2. Who's in the? Oh no, Brock Purdy. Never mind. All right, man. Let's get to FAMU. While we're here. They have a few things going on in there. They got something going on with the bowling team. But before we get there,
well, I do want to say this before we get into this. This is an issue currently with FAMU athletics. We reported in the past how Willie Simmons has taken over as running backs coach at Duke. Some of that we believe is unceremoniously due to what may be considered some disarray as far as the athletics department. They also apparently the celebration of winning the Celebration Bowl and all of that doesn't look like it was handled great, and as much as we love our HBCUs, our job is to let you know what's going on. And as we let you know what's going on, we're going to be very transparent. And, while we hope the FAMU gets it together, we also have to point out when people are missing the boat and, point out room for improvement. So, yeah, let's go ahead and let's get it, man. Let's get it.
Yeah, so start off with, yes, Willie Simmons left and went to Duke. We know that. They actually were about to sign no, that's Texas Southern, but they were actually looking for another coach, and the reason Willie Simmons left is because the athletic director allegedly said that he wasn't worth the raise. And the alumni tried to raise money, and he still went to Duke. So now FAMU, their VP of Intercollegiate Athletics, Tiffany Dawn Sykes, has told the Board of Trustees she recommends the university hire a search firm to find their next football coach, which tells me that they don't really have a lot of faith in their athletic director to make the correct decision, because that's normally an athletic director's job. It's kind of like the college version of a GM.
Right.
And when you do that, I think they already had a vote of no confidence a couple weeks back in this whole situation. So hopefully they plan to have a new coach in place before signing day in February.
February? We just heard Kingsbury announce his whole damn coaching staff. Fam, you got like a week or two to figure this out. Every day that you go by, you lose athletes. Every day that it goes by, you get further and further away from like everything that you built, and you need that. Like, if I'm Willie Simmons, I'm probably more infuriated day by day. He invested a lot of time and effort into getting this program off the ground. Even if you split and part ways, I think at the end of the day, he wants to see, some of his work continued on. And right now it looks like FAMU is just, not handling it very well is the best way that I could say without cussing.
Well, y'all
gotta get it together. I've spoken to some FAMU alums. They are not happy about this.
Yeah,
it makes your school look crazy.
You made the point of you lose athletes. But what you also lose when you have unrest and disorganization and you're unorganized, you start to lose staff. So you already lost Willie Simmons, but because he took the role as running backs coach, he actually left his entire coaching staff at FAMU. So theoretically, you could have found an interim coach to at least run the program, but instead, because of everything that's going on, they're losing coaching staff. So FAMU athletic recruiting director Devin Rispers announced today that he is joining Deion Sanders at the University of Colorado. If you remember, he's the one that spearheaded the transfer portal movement that was going on this past offseason. I think they had 4 Florida State players. They had a couple University of Florida players. They had some more D1 transfers coming in. They already had brought in Musa. They already brought him in. So he started in 2021, and he has a strong representation for because he's younger, being able to work with the students and get them there. And he's part of the reason that they had. He's a Tallahassee native. Like, he's a Florida native. And you lose him, he goes to Colorado, and now along with Deion, who is another North Florida native, you are now have a strong pipeline from Florida to Colorado. And you could have had you had it there. You had the fence around. You were there.
Yeah. And losing your head coach and then losing your recruiting director, that's a lot to lose for any team, much less an HBCU. You really putting yourself behind the 8 ball. And unfortunately, I mean, as the athletic director, you're the operations director. So you're supposed to manage this. And if it doesn't go well, the head coach is gone. So you know who they're going to look directly at if there's anything less than the same level of success is you.
Yeah, and then FAMU ended up losing their defensive coordinator, Ryan Smith. It's kind of like Nick Saban retiring, right? Everybody's abandoning ship because FAMU has not made the decision and has not moved forward. And this is what happens. You lose players and coaching staff every day that you don't make a decision, because they still have to feed their families, and other players still, and at this point with the NIL, other players still are missing opportunity and money. So you got to make it work. And this is just with the football team. They also have a little bit of unrest with the bowling team. On Roland Martin, FAMU bowler tells Roland Martin that she allegedly was removed from the team for choosing academics over practice. Now, I feel I'm kind of torn with this because you may have missed practice multiple times, and this may have been, the last straw. We don't know the story, and now you're running to Roland Martin to tell your side of the story when FAMU is already in turmoil. So you know that it's a story to talk about because it's FAMU, and now you're making them look even worse. And I don't understand what you were trying to do unless you're trying to force your way back onto the team. I don't understand this one.
I mean, I understand that part.
Shamoria Johnson is her name. Sorry. Didn't say
Correct. The first part is if she's bowler of the week. Going from bowler of the week to cut is crazy.
That is fair.
Like we've been in athletics. We understand it. There is right or wrong, say what you will, but the people who are elite or who are the best get a little bit more rope.
Which tells me
also
something. That tells you something.
Yes, which also goes to me to the fact of, it also is, as the athletic director, this falls into your purview too. Like you can't have all these dumpster fires and not putting them out
at the same time. You can't have them concurrently.
Exactly.
you can't have them concurrently.
Back to back. You lost the coach. They say it's probably on you. You've lost your recruiting director for football. You lost your defensive coordinator for football. The Celebration Bowl celebration, that was a debacle. Then you come back and you lose your, clearly your better bowlers.
One of your better bowlers. Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually it has to come back to you.
I think it's already there. I wouldn't be surprised if FAMU ends up getting a new athletic director soon. And when I say soon, if they don't make some decisions within the next couple of days, or the next couple of weeks, I expect for them to move on from her either this year or next year, unless all of a sudden they knock it out the park and everybody does well.
It's going to take a lot of winning real fast. Now, I will say that once again, we don't know the inner workings of FAMU that well, but it does look like she was one of the people in every photo. She was giving the speeches after they won. So she looks like she was highly involved in their success this year. So I'll give that, but at the same time, we got to see what that looks like. They're going to expect the same level or better next year.
It's crazy the times we live in, and we'll move on. That you get kicked off the team. You used to be able to you'd have to, if you were somebody, you would call a reporter and they write it in the newspaper. Now you can just go straight to Roland Martin, or you can get on social media, YouTube, and plead your case to the public. And now I'm interested to see their response. I'm interested to see their response.
That's very interesting to me because I don't hate that, because so many times before, this student athlete was kind of stuck. They had to follow the narrative that the media, who is supporting the school, who wants a story, or the school puts out. There weren't any outlets for students if they were taken advantage of. And there's many great situations we know that happen with athletes. We also know just as many that, damn, you got done wrong and just nobody really wanted to hear you. So in this case, I'm for the transparency. And just like the athletes used to be stuck with it, hey, you the athletic director, you got a PR department over there, or you're the PR department. You need to speak. But
you better figure it out soon.
Hey, and you not speaking, you're saying a lot.
Because
you got a ton.
They got a lot of partnerships that are up in the air now. They've made a lot of
moves.
moves.
We've been highlighting them and everything that they've done with, LeBron. Don't F up the church's money.
Speaking of LeBron, Grambling State this was from 2018.
There.
Grambling State's Shaquilla Hill makes history, gets shot out from LeBron. She had, against Alabama State, she had a quadruple double, 15 points, 10 assists, 10 rebounds, and 10 steals. She became the 5th woman in NCAA history to record a quadruple double. Coverage of her feat dominated the sports media, and it got a shout out from LeBron. So this is the anniversary of her making history with a quadruple double. That's crazy.
Yeah, I guess this is not really a quadruple double. What this really is a barbecue, my boy. And y'all came there and got cooked. That's what happened. That young lady brought the grill. She brought the coals. She lit that thing up, and y'all watched. Thoughts and prayers to you guys. I don't know. First of all, 10 steals. Somebody should have been offended. She just taking the ball from y'all.
That reminds me of the Arkansas Nolan Richardson 60 minutes of hell, full court press. She had to press the whole game. And if I'm there, I'd be so mad. I wouldn't play no more. If you gonna rip me 10 times, because she ripped you out half court.
And you've seen that point guard who's been put in hell before, and you got the defender that's just killing you every time. And there's nothing you can do but be murder. And I feel sorry for you, but it's just like life. Nobody comes to save you. You're the point guard. Your job is to facilitate, make it happen, or get cooked. Those are your 2 options. Yep. Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. But ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the HBCU segment of episode 136 of the SplashCast, the Around the League edition, Monday Night Raw. We're going to take 30 seconds, listen to the SplashCast, whatever, soundtrack. I believe this is going to be 24 or 36. So we'll see. We'll be right back with our football edition. Norwood, before we go, what can they do?
They can like, they can follow, they can subscribe. See you soon. Tell a friend.
See you soon. Tell a friend. Tell a friend. We will be right back. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, with our football segment of episode 136 of the SplashCast, the Around the League edition, Monday Night Raw. We talk about, we come on to y'all every Monday. We talk about our football news around the league, starting off with NCAA, then we get to the pros. NCAA, what has happened over the last couple of weeks. We finished up the season. Nick Saban has announced his retirement and the fallout from that. Starting off, Nick Saban is retiring, but he has also been promised an office at the University of Alabama, above the athletic department, above everybody, where he can still see the team practice and come down and give his expertise and consult with the Alabama coaching staff. So he'll still be there whenever he wants to be.
How you feel about that?
What you mean? He earned it. Yeah. Yes. That's exactly what you do. I'm coming back as a consultant. That's what everybody does. You retire from a company and you come back as a contractor. And you still get paid and you still get a pension and you get to chill out. That's all this is. I do the same thing. I do it 100%.
Fair. I understand that part, but what do you say if you're Dober? Embiid ends the night with 70, most points in Sixers history. Congratulations, sir. But yeah, if I'm taking over this new gig, do I really want the guy whose shadow I'm living in to physically tower over me?
You rather him figuratively tower over you with a statue?
He's gonna do both. It's not like they're gonna not build this statue. I'm sure this statue, he's gonna see this statue deservedly.
Sorry there.
But it's I've heard of this in other places and anywhere else when it comes to the job or whatever it may be. It's not really liked by the successor. It puts the successor in a very, very compromising situation. I'm already living in your shadow. Now you're literally lording over me from this massive palatial office somewhere, which is going to be better than your office because it's going to be Nick's office.
I mean,
I'm not sure if I will be a fan of it, but I'm pretty sure they discussed that with him before he took the job.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they will have that conversation. They'll have that conversation, and you also got to
have that conversation before. You cannot come to me afterwards and be like,
"Well, I disagree. I don't think this is a one conversation thing. I think this will be ongoing." But what I'm saying is, you made me lose my point. Even they've already had that conversation, but continuity. I think this was for continuity purposes. I don't think that this was planned out per se. I do think that he wanted to stay around the team and stay around the community, but the mass exodus of players is real. They lost their number one everything coming back. The number one offensive lineman, the number one quarterback. I'm sorry, not number one. Their top quarterback, their number one defensive player, their number one wide receiver. They lost a lot coming back, and I think Nick Saban announcing that I'm still be around the team probably reassures some people that to convince them to stay, because especially in this day and age, you commit to a coach, not a player. I mean, not a school. So they committed to Nick Saban. And a lot of them, by him staying around, I think allows them to at least keep those players there for a couple years. I think that's what it's for.
It's tricky to me. I think that if that was the case, I think that this has to be a reactionary move. I think that if this is the case, then you should have done this first. Coming back afterwards and doing this, if you just said, hey, this is the situation, Dober, kind of like the Pete Carroll situation. Pete Carroll is ascending, or what's your boy, Brad, who did it with the Celtics. He's going up, but he's staying with us. I think if that was the case, then you should have said that off rip.
Well, like I said, that's why I said it's reactionary. I don't think it was the plan. That's why you can't say it off rip. But moving on, Alabama, with that mass exodus of players, there is a NIL collective called the Saban Country. There's a show called Saban Country on Bama Online, and a call to the Alabama fans to support the Tide's NIL collective. They say you should be donating 10% of your salary pre-tax. Pre-tax to the NIL collective so that they can get athletes. This is what they're telling teams. This is tithe. They are telling you to pay to the Church of Alabama. And let me tell you something, if you are a believer of any religion, ain't no imitation gods now. Ain't no imitation.
If you will, we are here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Anybody under the sound of my voice, if you have a moment, you can find it in your hearts and to warm your heart and to open up your wallet, just 10% of what you're making. If you could send that over here to the University of Alabama, the tide has been rolling. It's been rolling along. We've had a wonderful journey, and if we want to continue this journey, we've lost Elder Saban here. He's moving on to greener pastures, and we would just love to have you aboard if you could. If y'all could just reach out, and I know that you're giving 10% to the church, but if you could find another 10% and send it over here to the University of Alabama, we would truly, truly appreciate it if you could do that. Thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful and blessed day, and please be safe. I can hear it now. I can hear it now.
They are desperate down there in Alabama. The sky is falling. But like I said, I don't think they're in as bad a situation as you think. I think that they've been spoiled so much that they're going to go from number 1 in recruiting to number 5. And that's going to be catastrophic for the fans. But hey, man, shout out to Worthy. I just can't wait to see I can't wait for that bandwagon to lighten up. All them people who great grandmama worked on the plantation down there, and that's how y'all became Alabama fans. Ha 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 ha! Bet you won't stay Alabama fans no more. All y'all that said that y'all used to be the janitor there or something, and that's why you go for Alabama. No. We don't need no more excuses. I want to hear them same excuses for you to stay there if they go 8-4. If they go 7-5, I don't want to hear. I don't watch football, and I don't really watch football. I don't want you to become one of them people. What Killer Mike say? Talking to me about talking that shit. Nah. Don't talk about the man suppressing us now. No. Roll Tide. Get your elephants. Get your Tide and your toilet roll, and make sure that y'all stay through the dark days. Because let me tell you something. Some dark days is coming. And Nick Saban say he gonna be there during the week, but he already's trying to get there. He might actually replace Lee Corso as the coach who picks the teams, and he already has pretty much ingratiated himself into ESPN by being the guest host during the College Football National Championship for 2 years in a row. As well as that was a little shot too. As well as
absolutely
being there with Pat McAfee. He's always there with Pat McAfee. So Nick Saban may end up replacing Lee Corso, which would be pretty dope. Would you want to see him on there?
Yes, I want to see
70.
Nick is like Bill Belichick, and not. We're gonna get to Bill in the Bill shit here in a little bit. But he's Bill Belichick in the way that he's intriguing. He's very mercurial. Like, we don't really get the most of his opinion on things. And I think that that's one of the things where you have these guys who are tremendous football minds, football savants, whatever you want to call them, whatever polite way you want to say they know a whole bunch about football. And to be able to pick his mind and to be able to hear what he thinks about different teams and different coaches, I am 100% in line with as a sports nerd. Yeah, like, to hear from these type of people are the interesting conversations that I want to hear. This is going to be as close as they can get to Chuck and Shaq with the NBA. Is this Nick Saban is a massive land if you could get him on TV for the Saturdays.
I think he's way more open than Bill Belichick. I think he gives his opinion. He gave his opinion on NIL. He gave his opinion on spread offenses. He gave his opinion on different coaches. He's given his opinion on the movement of where football is going. Now, it may have been skewed because he was the coach of Alabama, but he still would answer questions. I think he's a lot more open and talkative, which makes him a better TV person than Bill Belichick. I think Bill Belichick is going to go right off into the sunset after he ruins another sports franchise.
Which one?
You already know. You already know.
Come on, man. Let's we're not getting distracted by our own team's shortcomings. But yeah, and of course, if y'all want to tithe, make sure you send some money to the SplashCast.
But speaking of the transfer portal, we were talking about Alabama. Alabama lost their number one defensive player as well as their next starting quarterback after Jalen Milroe, the number one quarterback from last year's Julian saying they are both going to Ohio State along with the starting center. And then they lost their number one offensive tackle from the class of 2023 that started all 14 games, I'm sorry, to Iowa. So Alabama's losing a lot of players, but nobody's talking about Washington though, because they're in the Big 12 team.
The expectation for one of these is not the same. I think that Washington, once they lost their coach, and to be real here, let's be real here. Like, Washington is not a perennial threat. You had a good season, but for the most part, things gotta kind of fall in line for them in order to be what I would consider a championship contender versus Alabama, who's been the most dominant football team for the last 10 years?
10 since 2008. They won their first championship in 2008. But what I was saying was Washington will actually have 0 starters returning on offense as of now, because you will lose Odunzie, you will lose players to the draft, including Michael Penix Jr., but you also lose a lot of players will transfer to, of course, they'll follow the coach to Alabama, and they'll also transfer to other programs in the area. So while, yes, the expectation is different from Alabama and Washington, Alabama is more equipped to come back from this. Even if they lose, even if they lose Nick Saban, even if they lose a lot of players, they lose 20 players. They had 40 5-stars in the last. They've had 48 5-stars in the last 5 years. I mean, them in Georgia are equipped to almost handle anything because of the amount of recruiting that they do. But I do want to, before we move on to talk about LSU, I do want to say that I'm very disappointed in the transfer rule and how it's shaping up for Alabama, because Nick Saban retired, the transfer portal is closed, but because of the coach leaving or Nick Saban retiring, the rule is that the portal opens for kids to leave for 30 days, right? So that's why all these Alabama players can leave. So it's basically open season for coaches to contact these players to get them to transfer, NIL collectives and all of that. But because the transfer portal closed, Alabama can't go take and recruit any players. They can't recruit anybody to come here. If they recruit anybody, they get recruiting violations, NCAA violations. So the people that are transferring to Alabama are already transferring there. They were already going to go with Kalen DeBoer before. So I think that is a flaw in the rule. If a coach leaves and you're allowed to talk to the players, I think the new coach should have 30 days to try to get players to come to Alabama. I think that's the only fair thing to do. Because right now it's just open season. I agree.
Yeah, that's a tough situation. But yeah, give the kids the same flexibility, especially with the way that these coaches are moving around. You know, these things have a lot of bearing on these kids' lives. Mm-hmm. And as the coach moves, they need to have an opportunity to move too and make whatever decision. Just like the coach is making the best decision for him and his household, let the player make the same decision. I do want to sneak something in that I think just came out. Looks like Morehouse is targeting Hugh Jackson as their next football coach. We are in full support of that. I think it would be an excellent power move for Hugh Jackson to get back on the horse as soon as possible. And Morehouse, let's be real, you don't have another way to get a coach nearly that good. And Hugh Jackson recruiting out of Atlanta, Georgia seems mighty damn scary to me.
With the experience of already working with an HBCU, so he won't be. Nothing will catch him off guard. Shout out to Hugh, man. We're going to give you a little bit of round of applause on that one. Yeah, because you could have been scorned like these other players, like these other coaches, and talked bad about HBCUs and left and just went to a PWI and been a quarterback's coach, offensive coordinator, analyst, or whatever. But you decided to stick it out with HBCUs.
You're rich, dog. Let's be very real here. He is doing this because he likes coaching football. Mm-hmm. Hugh don't need any more jobs for nobody. He's doing this because he loves the game and to double down and go back to HBCUs after, it didn't work for whatever reason. We now play the blame game here at this point. Is admirable and respectful.
Yep. Speaking of for the love of the game, Miami tight end KM McCormick is returning for his
don't live here no more.
9th season of college football. I'm going to say that again. His 9th season of college football. He was a recruit in the class of 2016, and he suffered season-ending injuries in 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. Plus, he redshirted. That's 5, and he had the COVID year. That's 6. So when you have those season-ending injuries, you then petition, you play your eligibility out, and then you petition for extra time. And he was granted a 9th year of college football.
Now, I will tell you, number one, this guy looks just like great value Mike Evans. Like, legitimately look and height, he looks like Mike Evans. Also, like, if you managed to make it through 9 years of college with no children, that's wild. And this is high level D1 college football.
Is it? Is Miami high level?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Yes. At the end of the day, if you tell me, oh, I'm going to Oregon to play football, high level football. After I leave Oregon, I am going to looks like Oregon, Miami, and then back to Oregon. Yeah, this is, Miami don't have no shortage of whatever you might be looking for.
So you're not even talking about football at all at this point. And he ain't a starter. At this point, he is.
But you need to be Dr. something by the time you come out. I don't care if it's Dr. Sebi. You better be Dr. something when you graduate, bro. You've been
as a coaching staff, I couldn't allow this. You'd have to transfer or be a grad assistant. You can't play. You're not playing. At 27, like, nah, bro. Somebody said he need to enter the job portal. Mess up, not the transfer portal. Oh man. But hey, man, no hate. Do what you do, Cam. Do what you do, Cam. Hey, shout out to LSU, man. They brought back Corey Raymond to be their DB's coach. If you remember who Corey Raymond is, he is actually the godfather of the DBU term for LSU. He recruited Tyrann Mathieu and all of those DBs. Morris Claiborne, Patrick Peterson. There's so many more that I'm not saying right now that he recruited and developed, and then he left and went down to Florida to be defensive coordinator and DB's coach, where he recruited Kyer Elam and turned out a lot of DBs as well to the pros, but then they fired him because their defense was so bad. Not really for him, because Florida's secondary is probably their strength on defense. So he's now back at LSU, and now that they can even pay players with NIL, I expect for him to break the internet when it comes to recruiting. He's like a Kirby Smart, Nick Saban level recruiter. Elite level. Yep. They already got it.
It's just one of those places where, hey, do you want to go pro? Yes. Then on top of that, you got your boy there coaching from Notre Dame. I can't think of his name. I can see his face right now. So
Brian Kelly.
It's going to give you an opportunity. And that's what players are looking for. And everybody can't go to Georgia. Let's just be real here. And if you want to get a chance to play against elite level, you're going to get your chance to play against Oklahoma. You're going to put Texas on the schedule now. You might, Bama. And yeah.
Well, the king is dead, right? King is dead. Like, even though Georgia won 2 in a row, Bama's gone. Nick Saban's out of there. So LSU, in terms of recruiting, even Georgia, when they hired Bama's DB coach Travaris Robinson, it's all about recruiting. And he is a high recruiter because Nick Saban is gone. And so it's basically Kirby. And that's really it in the SEC. Lane's pretty good.
He's not going to let – this thing ain't going to be trash for sure now. I think that – especially this first season. I think now the you know what? I'm holding out everything on Alabama until I know more about their quarterback situation. If they think they're going to roll into next year with Jalen Milroe playing quarterback, then yeah, it's not going to be fun. But
they're not bringing anything else out, so they haven't said anything.
You better figure something out of the quarterback position if you want to be happy.
Yep. But let's move on to the NFL, man. Well, before we talk about the playoffs, we're going to talk about we talked last episode. We talked about the Falcons, especially on Saturday Morning Live, when we said they had Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, and Mike McDaniel on the staff, along with later on Raheem Morris. I thought we may have the dumbest front office in history, but I was wrong. The Washington Commanders staff of 2013 was Sean McVay, head coach of the Rams, Kyle Shanahan, head coach of the 49ers, Mike McDaniel, head coach of the Miami Dolphins, Matt LaFleur, head coach of the Green Bay Packers, Bobby Slowick, who is soon to be head coach. He is now the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans, and Raheem Morris, who is an everything coach. He was the head coach, the offensive the wide receivers coach, and the DBs coach for the Falcons, along with being the defensive coordinator for the Rams. You had all 6 of these head coaches on your staff, and you picked none of them.
Good job. And this is the reason I say that at the end of the day, man, it's mostly not generational, it's organizational. You have to have an organization that knows what they're doing. If not, you can pick all the right people. Clearly, you've identified all the right people, but you didn't put them in position to flourish. You put them in position to go other places and show you that they were really good. This is what you have when you have a poorly run organization. Now, Washington, you have an opportunity here to wipe the slate clean and start over. But you have to do it. That's going to be interesting for me and them. I want to see how that plays out.
Yeah. In Kelce news, All-Pro and future Hall of Famer Jason Kelce allegedly, he says he didn't tell Eagles teammates that he's retiring, but it is widely assumed that Jason Kelce has played his last game for the Eagles in the NFL, and he will soon retire from the NFL. One of the most beloved characters and players in the league, has really risen to stardom for real since Philadelphia won that championship against the Patriots. And of course, he has introduced himself as the funny Kelce brother. So shout out to Jason Kelce, man. Job well done.
Yeah, 70 points. You are correct. Yeah, this is for everything believed he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is very rare for the center position. As much fun as he had rooting for his brother, it looks like he's probably done. I can tell when people are like, I am not going back to work. Man, it's written all over your face. You don't have to say a word. He ain't going back to that job. Man, he might come back.
Especially the way he describes blocking for the tush push.
Y'all don't even know who y'all coach going to be. You think I'm finna come back and deal with? No.
He says, oh hell every time, and not hell, but he says, oh hell every time they do the tush push, and that play looks like it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's hard on himself.
So yeah, for me, congratulations, job well done. If you come back, I mean, I don't hate it, but for what? For what?
Yep. Moving on, man. So I'm not gonna cuss. I told y'all I'm not gonna be mad. But the Atlanta Falcons have Bill Belichick as their top candidate, flying him in for another one-on-one with Arthur Blank. Dinner, more meetings to come, and basically since then it has been announced that Bill Belichick has the Falcons job if he wants it. Now the Falcons are interviewing other coaches. They've interviewed Jim Harbaugh, they've interviewed Vrabel, a slew of offensive coaches and a couple defensive coaches, but it's basically Bill Belichick's job to turn down. That sucks.
Yeah. I can't imagine a world where this makes any sense. Not one single world where the guy that everybody has said that they hate playing for comes to Atlanta and suddenly everybody likes playing for him. We don't have a Tom Brady at quarterback. We don't even have a quarterback. This is the most Atlanta thing that Atlanta could do. I'm gonna be very clear. We're ride or die for our team, but I'm gonna tell you right now, any fans that Atlanta loses for this is perfectly fair, perfectly reasonable. If you pull this off, the only thing you can do is it has to look very good. If it doesn't look exemplary, let me tell you that it is trash. And this doesn't even, just from a timeline point of view, I assume he's ready to be win now due to his age. No matter what you put out there right now, I don't think that the Falcons tomorrow are win now. And specifically, we might as well go ahead and get to the even more difficult news here. It looks like we lost Ryan Neilsen.
Well, before we get there, Belichick, the only way that this works out for me is if he's going to treat this the same way that Tom Brady treated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was plenty times that we said when Tom got to Tampa Bay, he kind of let his hair down, so to speak. It was like, man, do I like Tom Brady? Like you didn't like Tom Brady because he was in the Patriot way up there, and you thought you thought no, let me finish. And you thought that, you know, he was just an asshole. Basically, you thought Tom Brady was just an asshole. When it really came down to it, when he came to Tampa Bay, whether he changed or not, he was a really, really likable guy, and it ushered him into post-football life. Maybe Bill Belichick, if he does come to Atlanta, it's not likely, but he may treat this the same way and say, well, I'm not as bad as people say, or I've changed, or he's also using this. If you come to Atlanta, I don't really agree with you that Atlanta's not ready-made to win. I think Atlanta is in the same situation that Detroit was in terms of talent and collecting talent, and signing key free agents and drafting talent. I think they were one more draft away. I think they're a quarterback away. And I think Bill Belichick, if he were to come here, I think it's a very attractive team. With that being said, I don't necessarily agree with this. I don't think all of that is true. I think all of that I just said is a pipe dream, and I don't think that he is the person for this job.
Now, I understand what you're saying, where Atlanta has a very good collection of talent, and I agree with that. As much as they have a really good collection of talent, the unique thing that Detroit had and was able to get that we don't have is a quarterback with prior Super Bowl experience. You know, say what you will about Jared Goff, he had already been to the big dance. He had elite coaching from one of the guys that we believe to be one of the best coaches in the NFL, and he just fell short, and they decided to go in a different direction. I don't think that we're going to get a quarterback with that level of experience or that level of knowledge. Now, you know,
we were linked to Russell Wilson.
Now, hold on. Oh, no. Please, Lord, no. If we go Russell Wilson and Bill Belichick, we're asking for, we're going to get everything we asked for. Number one, they already said Russ can't come to Atlanta because of free band gang. They said they're going to play Future in there until they run him out of there. Number two, I don't think, and I'm going to tell you, if I'm Russell Wilson, the very, very last thing that I'm doing is leaving Sean Payton and going to Bill Belichick, knowing what I've heard about Bill Belichick. It ain't no way I'm going to go to another coach whose whole job is to make a quarterback feel bad about himself. And if I saw what he did to Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback to ever live, then I would expect, and he spent his whole career with Tom. I dare not think what Belichick will do to Russell Wilson. So it's not, if Belichick is involved, I'm pretty sure you can go ahead and scratch Russell Wilson off the reasonable candidate list for quarterbacks.
Never know, man. I'm just saying, you said they got Jared Goff, a quarterback who has Super Bowl experience, and Atlanta won't get him. And I'm like, well, we're already linked to a quarterback with Super Bowl experience and Russell Wilson. So I think when it comes to being a ready-made team, you could theoretically get a quarterback that has that in Russell Wilson and come here for a couple years and try to win. Now, I agree with you that Russell Wilson and Bill Belichick are terrible match.
Oil and water.
Terrible match. Oil and water is, I don't even know anything else to add to make that a third compound.
No. It's like a it's like an oil fire in water. You know how they, when everybody immediately want to put water and the fire gets bigger.
Oh, grease fire. Grease fire.
Yeah, that's the last thing we need. We need a coach. I think I don't know what we need now that we lost our defensive coordinator. We probably just need to reach out to Mr.
Talk
Nazareth
about throwing
himself.
water on a grease fire, man. Ryan Neilsen going to Jacksonville. And I knew this was going to happen because they announced it and Jacksonville didn't interview nobody else. Like they interviewed,
Why would you?
What I'm saying, like normally the same way that they're looking for how the Eagles are interviewing all these people and they're cleaning house and they're doing the same thing. Normally Jacksonville ain't too far behind the Eagles in terms of disappointment of talent. So normally when you turn over a coaching staff, they say, hey, they're interviewing such and such. This person is interviewing. They interview Ryan Neilsen, and it was quiet after that. I said, oh, they working on a contract. And it's the perfect hire for them. It's the perfect hire.
Absolutely. I think it's the perfect hire for anybody. Let's be real. I don't think that there's anybody. I think that what I saw from Ryan Neilsen has made me a believer in ways that I did not ever believe that could happen on defense for Atlanta. We just played too good of a regular, intelligent defense with whoever we rolled out. And for that to happen, because you can look at the roster all you want, and there's no way that roster is a top 10 roster, specifically after we lose Grady Jarrett. We just continue to kind of find a way to get it done. And congratulations, Ryan Neilsen. You deserve to go to a better organization. It seems to be handling things a little bit better. And the only reason I say that they're a better organization is because at least they had the intelligence to not to go find you, and we let you go. That's on us. Well, I tell you, there is a person who should be thrilled about it. I think that he should do everything in his power to make this guy feel at home. His name is Trevor Lawrence. This helps you out so much. As a guy who I don't think is that good of a quarterback, who I think looks to have been over-recruited and over-believed in and given everything with very limited questions, this is a fixer for a guy who I think is a mediocre quarterback. Is having a guy who is going to be able to coach the hell out of an athletic, fast defense.
So two things. I think that the person that needs to get in his hip pocket and talk to him is Trayvon Walker. I think Trayvon Walker has a massive amount of talent, and he has a whole lot of flashes, but he just hasn't put it together yet. 1. 2, Ryan Neilsen is the perfect hire for Jacksonville, and not just anybody, but specifically Jacksonville, because he likes to run multiple fronts with the same players. So he'll put in New Orleans, we got half a New Orleans team. In Atlanta, he played Daniel Onyemata. He played at the time Grady Jarrett. He played Calais Campbell. He played Zach Harrison. He plays big defensive linemen that are multiple. They can play inside. They can play outside. They can stand up. They can sit down. They can get in a 3-point stance. They can get a 4-point stance. What's the one thing we did when we saw the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Falcons? We said, man, everybody on their defensive line is 6'5", 275 pounds. Every person. Yeah. And from Trayvon Walker to the guy that has 26 letters in his name. I can't say it all. But to Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen. They have
Luakon. What are you talking about? He's
more of a linebacker. True. Fair. You're correct, because then you have him to be able to move. So you have all of these multiple front guys, and that's the type that he runs. They're gonna run a 4-3, and they're gonna shut down that AFC South. It's gonna be interesting on defense with those three teams, with the defense that they're gonna have in Jacksonville, Houston, and Indianapolis. This is gonna be very, very, very interesting. In New England, they hired Gerard Mayo as the new head coach, and it turns out that he was already written in as the next head coach in Bill Belichick's last contract, which is why they didn't really have to interview that many people. Gerard Mayo, from the USA Today, from Mike Freeman, writes, Gerard Mayo isn't putting his views about race or, in essence, his blackness aside for the job. He's telling the truth about race and showing guts that many, many people don't have. In that way, he's already winning. That is also referring to the question, do you see race? And he says, yes, I see race, because if you don't see color, do you see color? You say, yes, I see color, because if you don't see color, you don't see racism. So it's going to be interesting, given the reputation that Boston has, coming from a coach that Boston has in Bill Belichick, to go to Gerard Mayo, who seems to be not shy about being outspoken about political unrest in the country. I'm very, very interested to see how this plays out.
This is interesting to me because, number one, they call him Gerard Belichick, so he's based, for all intents and purposes, they say he's like Bill's son. For him to have this social awareness very early, I liked it. I think that he has a different level of confidence because he's known that this job has been his for a long time. I think for New England, this is a opportunity to kind of rebrand, to come out of the, as much as it is to come out of the Patriot way. The Patriot way is something that I think has kind of come and gone. He's
Yeah, we talked about HBCU news. We talked about we did the pregame, and now we're in football. What's up, Fettuccine?
But for me, for him to have that level of awareness, to have this level of confidence is very, very interesting. He's already said that he's going to spend some money. It seems like he's trying to be like, I think the tactics and the theory on football will probably still be very Belichickian, but he also is very aware of, hey, I got to do some things where people are interested to come here, because the last guy didn't make it a free agent destination. He didn't make it. Well, he didn't make it where it was a place that a lot of people like to play football.
I want to say, also, free agents, he was just bad at drafting.
Well, I mean, that too. I think that everything that it sounds like from him, it sounds like, hey, we're going in a different direction. We spending money where we see black people, all of that type of stuff. And I also find it, I want to see what happens with Tom Brady and the Patriots now that Bill Belichick is gone, because it seems like it's in Robert Kraft's best interest to see if he can get Tom Brady, not necessarily as a coach or an advisor, just to be back. You know how Peyton Manning has kind of left the Colts, and for all intents and purposes, you don't hear anything about his time in Indy, nor does he really go back to Indy for any reason. This seems like it would be a good time to call Tom and say, hey, man, we had whatever we had at the end of the day. I would really like you to be back.
Yeah, and to Fettuccine, man, we pick our games on Saturdays, Saturday morning live. So we'll let you know. We'll make our pick of the NFC and AFC Championship 11:30 Saturday.
Young Genie, my boy, what up?
Hey, man, before we get to these games, before we get to the recap of these games, man, the draft, the Falcons are linked to either Caleb Williams and trading up to Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels, or getting Justin Fields. And it looks like the Bears are going to get Caleb Williams. They've already hired Cliff Kingsbury, who was an analyst and quarterbacks coach at USC with Caleb Williams, as well as they hired his passing coach as well for Chicago. So it looks like Chicago's going after Caleb Williams. Hey, Atlanta Falcons, y'all need to make the call yesterday and say, we will give you a second and third for Justin Fields, or whatever you want to give for him. Go ahead and get it, because if you wait, the price is going to go up. Price going to go up.
I think the kind of exact opposite. I think the price is going to go down, because as things continue to leak out about Caleb Williams, then at that point you lose the leverage of people not knowing in which direction you're going to go. As you continue to hire these, and I think for them, it's kind of like a Nathaniel Hackett thing, where I got to hire his coach first and hope that he shows up. But that commitment only works if you get Caleb Williams. Like when Aaron Rodgers didn't show up in Denver, everything went left. And I'm going to tell you one thing that Justin Fields is not going to like, is if you guys go get coaches and basically recruit him to come to Chicago, and then he's staying there. He's gonna be like, I know you guys don't want me here.
Well, the difference is a draft versus a free agency. You know, it's. I don't think Caleb Williams is in the position to say I am not going to the Bears and I will not whatever. I don't know if he has position. I just don't believe he has that position right now. I mean, he's already put it out there that if the Bears choose him, he wasn't gonna declare for the draft, and then 2 days later he declared for the draft. So I
don't think that the way that USC unceremoniously ended their season, he could not declare for the draft. But we've seen John Elway do this. We've seen Eli Manning do this. And I think that Caleb Williams is such a unique prospect that if he really said, I'm not going to Chicago doesn't really have the leverage because they've mismanaged so many quarterbacks, including the one they have right now.
I think he'll be personally. I think Caleb Williams will be a Chicago Bear next year, and Justin Fields will be either an Atlanta Falcon or a Pittsburgh Steeler. That's what I feel.
I feel like Russell Wilson should go to the Steelers. I think that's the smart place for him to be.
Yeah, because they don't have a real good offensive coordinator. I agree. Hey, man. So, meat of the argument. We saw some really, really good football this weekend. Yeah, Chiefs, Bills, Texas, Ravens, 49ers, Packers, Bucs, Lions. I'm going to start out with Chiefs, Bills just because that was the last the last game to be played. It has been added to the rivalry between the Bills and the Chiefs, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I think on Saturday Morning Live, I think I took the Bills. I expected for them to win, and that man Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, you're right. I'm up 12.
Yep, that man Patrick Mahomes, 27-24, stole the game. I ain't gonna say stole the game. Buffalo gave him that game, but went in there and beat Buffalo on the road. Remember, this is Patrick Mahomes' first road playoff game. And they went 27-24. He went out there and played really, really well and stole the game. Travis Kelce. I got a lot of notes on this game. But I do feel bad for Josh Allen because most of the time, Josh Allen is the reason that you lose. He is going to throw the interceptions. He's going to fumble. He's going to do too much. Most of the time when they lose, Josh Allen does too much. This game, it was not Josh Allen's fault. He didn't have a great game. I think they threw the ball backwards more than they threw it forward. I don't think they had more than they didn't have a 20-yard pass. And he did miss a couple passes that would have been touchdowns. But for the way that people talk about Josh Allen in the bad, and the way that Stephon Diggs and the Diggs family insinuated and flat out said about Josh Allen and that Stephon Diggs needs to leave, Stephon Diggs played a big role in blowing that game. You dropped that pass that was perfect, 60 yards in the air, dropped over your outside shoulder so perfectly that it hit your outside shoulder on a fly route. And you dropped it. And then you didn't even man up and say anything after the game. You're the same guy that ran to the locker room, that said these things. The Diggs family said these things. If y'all got all that to say when he does bad, bro, don't get silent when you out there fucking up now.
Correct.
You dropped that pass.
Correct.
And it was the pass. That was your moment. That was the moment. And you messed that up. With that being said, Joe Brady, I put this loss on you as well. You can't throw the ball backwards 95 yards. How you throw the ball backwards 95 yards? You threw the ball behind the line of scrimmage for 95 yards. They only had I know the Chiefs defense is good, but they ain't that good. Like, you got it. It's almost like you called the game because you were scared of Josh Allen. And if you call the game to be scared of Josh Allen as your quarterback, then you don't need to be the offensive coordinator, because that's just Josh Allen. He plays just like Brett Favre. He plays just like John Elway used to. It's the same thing. You have to call the game and just hope that he makes the right decision. And for the most part, he did this game.
Yeah, this is a relatively tricky situation for me. I mean, he's still, during his time in the NFL, he's found a way to turn the ball over more than anybody else. So I do understand on one side where you're like, well, look at this. You know, finally he kind of puts it together and doesn't trick the game off. But so many other games that other people have untricked because of him throwing interceptions. It's just the law of averages. You know how I feel about numbers. If you throw enough of them, eventually, you know, a lot of those games, you found a way to win. Eventually, you're not going to throw one and find a way to lose a game. It's the law of averages. It's very interesting how people are going to look at everybody who's not Patrick Mahomes going forward as far as our quarterback, because
Well,
you're not Patrick Mahomes.
All y'all over here.
Then everybody, yeah, all intents and purposes, even what looks like to be double MVP Lamar, you look like you going until you prove that you can get over here near this man. It's just him, and for him to win this game, this was the game he was supposed to lose. He could have lost this game and nobody been upset. At the end of the day, he doesn't have enough. Travis Kelce hasn't been himself. He's got Rashid Rice out there playing wide receiver.
Miko Hardman fumbling through the end zone.
ADT ruining the greatest football player of all time. Like, this was the one for him to lose. And somehow the magic man Mahomes makes it happen. And
Jordan.
I mean, now you back in the dance. Like, at the end of the day, I mean, who's to say he can't go to another Super Bowl now?
If Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs, for as bad as they looked, they have been, for the most part, ascending the whole season. They just couldn't put together a whole game. But the thing that they've been saying is, we're really beating ourselves. Other teams aren't really beating us. If we can just eliminate the mistakes, we win. Well, they eliminated the mistakes. They didn't have any mistake, really they didn't have the catastrophic mistake here other than Miko Hardman, and they ain't throw him the ball no more after he fumbled.
There's a
Travis
Kelce
and Rashid
over there now. Hey, you either gonna get it or you gonna get the hell on. All of you guys,
Kadarius,
we will have
all y'all out
interviews with, and we will call you if we want to bring you back. But don't expect to come back.
His interview gonna be
Killer Trav had 2 touchdowns, 75 yards. He did. You know, he looked like his old self again, which is scary. That is not what you want him to look like at this point in the season. If he can do that, if he can have anywhere near that production going forward, well, y'all have a problem. Now, y'all probably shouldn't leave him wide the hell open, let me tell you, because he was wide open, just uncovered. And if you go do that, you're going to have a lot of problems.
Yeah, I don't know. I will talk about it more on Saturday Morning Live. I don't know Baltimore's defense is equipped to slow this team down as it's presently built. Now, if they were to get somebody to come off the bench like Rocky, like Kadarius Toney all of a sudden has a 150-yard game or something, then yeah. But before we move on, man, I just want to drive the knife a little deeper into the back of Buffalo. The Chiefs used the Buffalo 27th overall pick and a 3rd round pick and a 1st round pick to move up to the 10th spot. They traded with Buffalo. They moved up to the 10th spot from the 27th and traded the 27th overall pick, a 3rd round pick, which was the 91st overall, and a 2018 1st round pick to trade up and draft Mr. Patrick Mahomes. So the man that you could have drafted, you traded the picks away to, is now kicking your ass over and over and over and over and over again.
You don't think Josh Allen knows that too?
What?
Tough sledding.
Yeah.
Tough sledding.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, if I'm Bass, And they missed wide right. Like, that's like Florida State losing on a wide right against Miami. Like, you can't. I would rather you get the kick block. I'd rather you kick it out of bounds. I'd rather you miss than kick wide right. Like, I'd rather you just miss the ball, Charlie Brown it, than kick wide right. And you did that on a 44-yard field goal. Bass, you might be out of there, brother. You think Buffalo changes coaches? I think it's time to go. I think it's time for a different.
I think they're in. They should be prepared for an overhaul. Sean McDermott, probably time to go. Stephon Diggs, like it or don't like it, it's probably time for him to go. And just it's that car. It's the constant losing to Patrick Mahomes, which is the most devastating part of the whole game. Is if it was somebody else or a different situation, then it's probably maybe a little bit more livable. But you just get to a point where, hey, us as we're presently constructed, we can't beat him. And sometimes
because he don't got nobody, he beat us.
and just let me tell you, if you could not beat him this year, you're not beating him going forward. Not with what you got, because he's going to get. I have a high belief that they're going to get a young wide receiver and an old wide receiver over there as an insurance policy. And good luck beating him when he gets weapons.
Because they already got a defense. They will take on the Ravens in Baltimore after the Ravens beat the Texans 34-10. I watched all of these games. This game was actually good in the first half. I think it was 10-10 in the first half at halftime. And then that defense just absolutely turned up on the Texans. Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith are for real. They are probably, if not emphatically, the number one linebacker duo in the league. I think.
Wait, breaking news. I hate to stop what you're saying. Okay. Call Anthony Towns 21 of 35, 10 of 15 from 3-point with 62 points. They lose to the Charlotte Hornets by 3.
Yeah.
128 to 125. That is embarrassing.
I was actually looking at the scores of that because he had 53 points and nobody else had more than 7. And I was like, I think Anthony Edwards had 0 points last time I looked in the third quarter.
Surely did.
So, but yeah, that's ugly. We'll talk about that. Baltimore won 34-10. I will say shout out to the Houston Texans on a great year. You probably will have all of the rookie everything, coach of the year, rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. It's just Lamar right now is kind of on another level. Todd Monken, he is starting to, whatever he has unlocked in Lamar, he showed up at the right time with the maturity of him and leadership of him. He is scrambling to pass, which is a killer because nobody can really stop him because he's too fast. And Houston basically said, we're not going to allow you to do that. And they fell back in man. And then he just went right around them. And that defense from Baltimore, just, you can't run on him. You can't pass on him. Kyle Hamilton is everywhere. I don't know where y'all said he ran a 4.8. I saw him run from the opposite hash, diagonal, break up a pass, get back up, go, and then play middle linebacker almost on the next play. They are out there looking crazy.
I know where he ran. He ran right up out of our draft and into the hearts and the minds and the souls of the Baltimore Ravens.
And Baltimore is so good right now that it looks like everybody said that Martin Luther King came back from the grave to cheer on Baltimore. First off, he'll come back to Atlanta. First off. But I think that was funny.
He had a dream. Dreams inspire hope. We don't have hopes nor dreams.
But shout out to Baltimore, man. They actually are one win away. And I think they are in a win now, so they have to win. And it's for the first time, I think the Chiefs, even though they've been to 6 straight AFC championships now, they have no pressure. I think this may be the first time Patrick Mahomes plays with no pressure. There's no pressure. Baltimore has to win.
Very scary place to be, boy.
Yeah, because Baltimore has to win. They have Baltimore. nobody really notices. A shout out to Bomani Jones. He pointed this out. Baltimore really was close to being undefeated this year. Quietly as kept. They lost 4 games. One of the last games don't matter. But all them other games they lost, they should not have lost to Cleveland. They blew a 21-point lead in the fourth quarter. They lost to Pittsburgh, and we still don't know how, because Mason Rudolph was the quarterback. We don't know how that happened. And then they lost to what, Indianapolis or something like that. Indianapolis, like none of those teams should have beaten Baltimore. So they were really close. And if they can hit their stride.
Yeah, and then they sat players at the end. I forgot about that.
Yeah, in the fourth game. So that's why that was gonna be a win. So they were like probably a quarter away total time-wise from being undefeated. This is a really good team. So
Which
you got
ideally is the team that you want, the team that you, because a lot of teams like the Patriots, you invest so much into going to undefeated that by the time that it rolls around time to win, you kind of run out of gas. Same thing with these 73-9 Warriors. So you have a team that could have gone undefeated, but instead of going undefeated and playing for regular season records and all of that, you focus on what matters the most, sitting your players, resting your players. This is it. This gives you your best chance.
It does. So you got a classic matchup of 2 highly talented, definitely the top 2 quarterbacks in the league, in Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, facing off in the AFC Championship game. In the NFC, you saw San Francisco hang on and win, actually steal the game from the Packers. The Packers had this game. They should have won. The Packers outplayed the 49ers for 58 minutes in this game and lost 24-21 when Christian McCaffrey scored at the last second. Deebo Samuel went out in the second quarter with a shoulder injury and did not return. And, of course, Jordan Love threw an absolutely awful pick, game-ending pick for the Packers, game-sealing pick for the 49ers, with Dre Greenlaw getting his second pick of the game. And the 49ers are at the punch their ticket. Did you watch it?
Yes. Number 1, Jordan Love is the real deal. Congratulations, Green Bay Packers. You guys have some unique quarterback development, gene, skill, luck, whatever it is, where you consistently are able to identify your generational franchise quarterback right at the right time. Jordan
and
Love
coach
looks like it. Yes. And coach. You're right. Right. So for that, congratulations. You guys got further than anybody probably expected you to. You guys are the youngest team in the NFL. That serves you on so many different levels. Also, I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all this just because it's a smart thing to do. And what you don't want to do is be Jerry Jones. Pay your quarterback now. I want to make sure I say that loud and clear and loud. Pay your quarterback right now. He's your quarterback in the future. Spend the money before he gets expensive. Every season after this is going to cost more and more and more. And while we're talking about quarterbacks and money, I'm happy to see that he has hit quite a few of his incentives. $500K for 65% of the snaps, $500K for top 10 in TD passes, $500K for top 10 in pass yards, 1.5 for his passer rating, completion percentage, and yards, another 1.5 for making the playoffs, and then another $500K for winning the playoff games. So that's 1.5 and 1.5. That's $3 million plus another another million.
$5 million total.
$5 million. We ain't count nobody pockets, but I assume that $5 extra million will probably go a long way.
Well, with the Packers being the youngest team in the league, they have a lot of players on their rookie contract, which will allow them to sign Jordan Love to probably a respectable contract. I don't think his
front loaded.
There will not be a $200 million contract. I don't think. I think he'll probably get in the high 100s, and it'll be front loaded because you got to sign all those defensive players afterwards. But the Packers, man, they're set up. They always get Brett Favre and Mike Holmgren. Then they got Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy in his heyday, and now they got Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. They always get the play calling. They got a template. They have a template, and they are following it to a T, and they made it all the way to the divisional round, and they're probably the favorite to win their division next year. But
if you're smart, Jordan Love, I would say you find the sweet spots. You know what? The Daniel Jones contract is probably good for you, but you should probably get the 5th year or 6th year on that deal. So $40 million a year, I think, is about reasonable as you increase the cap. That'll be a good sweet spot where $40 million a year, you're rich. And at the same time, if you continue in $40 million over 5 years, so yeah, a $200 million contract, but I would front load it and see if I could pay him like 60 next year and then step him down.
Yeah. So we'll see what they do, man. But now I don't want to keep the the focus on the losers. Shout out for them having a good game. But the 49ers, man, they played probably one of their worst games of the season. Their second worst game. The first one was against Baltimore, and they still came out on top. So I expect Debo. Hopefully Debo gets healthy, because if Debo isn't healthy, man, they got to go up there and they got to. Well, they have the Lions coming in. The Lions won 31-23 over Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They clinched their their ride to the NFC Championship game for the first time since 1991 with Barry Sanders. And they will now go to San Francisco riding a high, and San Francisco is beat up. And one thing that they can do, this team, when you have a good offensive line, you can run the ball, and you play decent defense, is you can all that travels. And I fully came in here I expected to be able to shit on Baker Mayfield. He had 2 picks. One of them really wasn't his fault. The last one was his fault, but he was in a weird position because you basically had to take chunk plays to get down the field. But all in all, he didn't play a bad game. But I was more impressed with Aaron Glenn. And I know some of y'all are wondering who Aaron Glenn is. He interviewed for the Falcons, virtual interview, head coaching job. He is the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. He dialed up some of the best edge blitzes I've seen. Tampa Bay's offensive coordinator lost the chess game to Aaron Glenn and lost that game. That defense for Detroit played really well. And shout out to Ty Bowles. His defense played well too, but they just ran out of gas. Eventually, because Penei Sewell and that offensive line is so good and so dominating, eventually they wore them down and couldn't handle. So shout out to the Lions, man. You made it.
Shout out to the Lions. This is a team, like I said earlier in the show, since really about the midpoint of last season, they've been a terror. They turned it around. Dan Campbell has really coached his team up. Everybody loves to play for him, apparently. And, yeah, to win is well-deserved. They say that Penei Sewell, he's the highest-rated running blocker, I think, in NFL history this season. Basically, and that's been Reggie's guy since he got drafted. He's like, oh, this is the guy you need to watch. He's going to be a monster. And he's proved to be exactly that.
We always talk about
Now, to Baker Mayfield, I know that, he threw that interception at the end of the game. It wasn't the greatest game that he's ever played. But I want to be very, very, very transparent here. Nobody expected Baker Mayfield to be anywhere near this position last season. He played on 3 different teams last season. And for what they paid for him and what they got out of him, they've seen a ton of return on investment. If you give him another season to really drill down with this team, I think that, they found probably their quarterback for at least the foreseeable future. I think that this is another guy who you can probably pay some money, but not a ton of money, and be able to have your quarterback position being taken care of. Now, I know a lot of this has to deal with what Mike Evans decides to do with his future. Because if
No,
Mike Evans is out,
he's already 30. It don't matter. Whether he stays, he's the old guy. So whether I knew you were gonna go there with Mike Evans. It don't matter if he stays or goes. You're gonna have to go get another receiver anyway. Because you already got Chris Godwin, who's younger than actually he's not younger than Mike Evans. So whether Mike Evans stays or goes, they're gonna have to draft skill players anyway. You're gonna have to go get somebody anyway.
Yeah, but I think that if there is no Mike Evans, he's held him down, then I think that then you might have to look at, then if you don't go with Baker or you don't sign Baker to a longer term deal, then it kind of makes, you're not wrong in that. Now, yeah, you're right. You got to draft the guys, but you got to identify the guy. You got to draft the guy and get him to fit into the system. And if you're going to lose Mike Evans, then the whole timeline kind of shifts from not necessarily, they're not exactly win now, but they're trying to do like they did this season. We're trying to get this thing as far across the field as we can win as many games as we can. And I guess it is win now. But Mike Evans is definitely win now.
Because that defense isn't young. So you have to, Vita Vea ain't a spring chicken no more. Levante David is in his 10th year. So, yeah, it's win now. But they need to have a draft, man. They got to have a draft like the Detroit Lions. The reason the Detroit Lions are going to the NFC Championship game is they've hit on every single pick for the last 3 years in the first 3 rounds of the draft. Penei Sewell in 2021, who was the highest rated offensive lineman to come out of college. He has been the number 1 offensive lineman since he was in 7th grade. We keep talking about all these quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 and Justin Fields was number 2, and all of these guys was to be the number 1 offensive tackle and to be from Hawaii, and you still the number 1 offensive tackle all the way through. And now he's basically the best tackle one of the best tackles in the league, best run blocking tackle for sure.
Hell yeah.
They got Melifonwu, 9 tackles, 1.5 sacks. Amon-Ra St. Brown, they got in the 4th round. Aiden Hutchinson, Jamison Williams, Kirby Joseph, all starters. Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, and Jamison Williams was out 2022. Sam Laporta, so he basically is part of the 2023. And Brian Branch, you drafted 9 starters. Do you know how hard it is in a draft to draft 2 starters? They drafted 9 starters.
Yes, Reggie, we do know. We look every year and we get our one good guy, and then everybody else just be like, all right, well, I'll be on the team.
We gave Dan Campbell all the jokes in the world for his speeches. But this is almost biblical. Everything that he said is coming to fruition, and all of the jokes that we had for his kneecap biting and all of this stuff is playing out right in front of our eyes. He's so good right now at coaching that he is beating the HBO curse, the Hard Knocks curse. He beat it.
Yep.
They're in the NFC Championship game. You know how many people don't beat the Hard Knocks curse? Nobody. Everybody's always terrible. Look at the Jets.
Nobody,
they got Aaron Rodgers.
Baby. Yeah,
so,
I mean that.
Good.
And to me, this is. I look at a lot of this, and I just see the Rams like ejecting on
Matt Stafford.
No, yeah,
Jared
well,
Goff?
not really on. Well, the Rams ejecting on Jared Goff. I think that everything about this, like, it reminds me so much of the bubble and LeBron. And yeah, you got your championship, but at what cost? Then you see other teams take your assets and flourish. And in this case, I mean, I know Jared Goff, as much as it sucks not to have that Super Bowl, imagine if he could win one with Detroit.
I mean, if he wins one with Detroit, it'll be insane. But you keep saying that about LA, like they came out kind of short on this deal. They got a Super Bowl. They had a win now team. Aaron Donald was in his prime. Cooper Kupp he'd been hurt ever since. You had Matt Stafford in that time with Jalen Ramsey, if I'm not mistaken, and OBJ. That's a lot of hurt people. You had a whole lot of hurt people on one team that had to ended up playing well.
They better be praying that the Detroit Lions do not win a Super Bowl. If they win a Super Bowl, oh boy.
I don't think it changes anything.
And
you got to forget that Detroit, the Lions were the hottest team in the league. Not the Lions. The Rams were the hottest team in the league. Remember, they lost 24. It's not like Detroit blew them out when they played now. They lost 24-23 on a missed extra point.
I knew they were going to lose that game. I knew that. Knew they were going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, you expected them to lose.
And Josh, I actually agree with you. I think that black GMs and coaches do better. I think that they do better because they know they have to. There aren't any coaches. You can't be a bad black coach. That's not an opportunity that is afforded to African-American coaches. Either you have to be good or you go home. You can't even be mediocre. Remember, they got sick of Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati because he was just going to the playoffs.
Ooh, I'm glad you brought that up. Put a pin in that.
10 years after that. So, yeah, I think that more teams look at it backwards when they look at hiring black coaches or black GMs. You know that they have to produce. And if they don't at a high level, then nobody's going to be upset when you fire them.
So before we've come to the end of the football segment, but we would be remiss if we did not send congratulations and applause out to Antonio Pierce for being named the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And not only was he, I'm going to press it again. Not only was he named a head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, his first move as interim head coach was to bring on Marvin Lewis as a mentor to help him as an interim head coach, and he has now hired him to a full job and more permanent capacity on his coaching staff. He was the first person he called. So shout out to Josh for pointing it out. Black GMs do it better. Shout out to you bringing up Marvin Lewis. Shout out to Antonio Pierce for paying it forward and showing thanks by bringing another black coach who was done wrong back into the NFL on a professional capacity. So shout out to to Las Vegas. Everything you're doing well, you're doing right now, except for what you did in Oakland. But everything in terms of your organization you're doing right. And shout out to Antonio Pierce, man. I am excited for that team. I think
that they knew that they were they couldn't mess this up. And Max Crosby making it very clear, either you sign him or I'm out of here. I appreciate Max Crosby standing up for doing the right thing and, you know, being an ally. You knew who the right guy was. I think that you know that coach was able to do things that you guys weren't going to get coached. And I think that they did. I wish the Falcons would do something similar. You need to listen to your team and understand what your team needs. I don't think that the Raiders had very much to do as far as picking a coach. They understood either we were going to pick Antonio Pierce or this thing was going to go bad for everybody. And I think they made the right decision.
Yeah, man. So shout out to Antonio Pierce. I will be watching you guys closely next year. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 2-minute break. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, like the video, go on YouTube, like our videos, subscribe so you can get the latest SplashCast content. We will be right back with our basketball segment. Not a lot to talk about, man. We're going to lament about the Hawks, man. The Hawks.
Who are playing right now. And looks like, and we didn't give up 30 points because guess who's not playing tonight? Don't say it out loud because that'll get you fired.
We'll be right back. Y'all stay tuned. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, with our final segment of episode 136 of the SplashCast, the Around the League edition, Monday Night Raw, our basketball segment. We're going to talk about a few things, man. We have some stuff on the docket, but it's cool. What we're going to start out with is the Hawks.
You want to start? Let's start out with at least let's celebrate the two massive games before let's give these people their flowers in their moment here.
What are you talking about? Joel Embiid?
Yes, Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns.
So Joel, okay, we can do that.
Be remiss if we didn't start out with the guy who I think that I've probably believed to be the best player in the NBA, not only this season, not only last season, but the season before. Last 3 years, I think that Joel Embiid should have and could have won the MVP. Tonight, in a historic Philadelphia 76ers night, and they got Daryl Dawkins, they have Allen Iverson, they have Dr. J, they have a myriad of elite basketball players that have played there. Joel Embiid gave them 70 points tonight. 70 points, 18 rebounds, and 5 assists, 1 turnover.
Yep, they
21 and 23 from the free throw line, 24 of 41 from the field, and this is Wembanyama's entrance into the NBA. Jesus.
So Wembanyama ended up playing, and the Spurs ended up playing Joel Embiid. And if you know anything about Joel Embiid, he loves to welcome you to the NBA. And he welcomed Wembanyama to the NBA. I believe this was their first time playing. And of course, he scored 70 points, which it's so dominating because it's 70 and 18, and he clearly just he threw his weight around. There's nobody on the Spurs is really strong enough to stop him. And yes, you're right. We will give him the flowers of 70 points. It's amazing. Victor Wembanyama was 33, 7, and 2. 33.7 rebounds and 2 assists. Now, of course, he didn't get the rebounds because Joel Embiid got all the rebounds. And he's too light in the pants right now to be able to stop Joel Embiid. But man.
And let's be real here. He's still on a minutes restriction, 28 minutes. Embiid played 37 minutes.
And he's 10 of 19.
10, he probably got another 10 points.
He got 33 points on 19 shots.
Exactly. And 11 and 12 from the free throw line. That is unbelievable. You know how, once the players get to a certain height, they can't shoot free throws anymore. He can shoot them. 11 and 12 puts him in rarefied air. There will be no hack a shack with him. You embarrass yourself, hurt yourself, and get whooped. 33 points, 7 rebounds. I mean,
what I've noticed about him,
get a man the respect. He gives to the MVP. He hit an MVP, an easy 33 now.
What I notice about him is he ain't scared of nothing. Like, there is no intimidation, and the moment is too big for him, and he can't. Wembanyama is coming out there trying, and he's on a minutes restriction, but he has realized early that I can shoot over everybody in the league, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And we've seen many a times that team they're trying to figure out their identity. There's been plenty of times he's been wide open at the rim, and they just didn't pass it to him. He could.
This is an identity-less team with some good players, but no superstars around him. Eventually, I think somebody's going to go over there. Somebody's going to go to San Antonio and say, I want to see what this is like. And when they get that, or these guys mature into, their full selves, this San Antonio team is going to be scary. Because as much as Joel Embiid surely gave them 70 points, you want to know how much they won by? 10 points. 10 points. They barely beat them by double digits. And if you think at the beginning of the game Joel Embiid is going to give you 70 points, I assume that this is over about midway through the fourth quarter at the latest.
Yeah, they actually needed those 70 points.
Absolutely.
They actually needed those 70 points. And then, secondly, was Karl Anthony Towns, who had 62 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists on 21 of 35, including 10 of 15 from 3. But they lose to the Charlotte Hornets.
Tell them who they lost to.
To Charlotte Hornets, as Miles Bridges, who's back, Brandon Miller, both scored 25 plus, 28 and 27. LaMelo Ball had 18 and 13. Terry Rozier
and 1 turnover.
But he shot some. He is shooting terrible. And then PJ Washington has just been Mr. Consistent. 12 to 15. He's giving you John Collins numbers. 12 to 15, 7 to 9, 5 to 9 rebounds, somewhere in there. Lonzo is definitely the person that makes that engine go. But bringing Miles Bridges back and him playing 40 minutes, filling in that small forward position, because they don't really have anybody else as a small forward on that team.
And this was an off
good.
night for Scary Terry. Let's be real. Scary Terry is averaging 24 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists a game.
He played 35 minutes.
Like, this team
has pieces. They have pieces.
Now, I do think that Scary Terry playing this good, he's probably going to be moved close to the trade deadline. I don't think that his timeline, he's 29 years old, going on 30 years old, really matches up with his team. And I think that the 24 points a game, 23.6 points a game, there are all the people who are in line and interested in Zach LaVine, while Scary Terry is substantially smaller. A bucket is a bucket. I don't care if he's 6'1" or 6'6". And I think that Golden State might be in the market. I assume that the Lakers are in the market. They're just teams that need scoring, and he's going to be a viable, valuable option. And you can get a first rounder back for him, at least, at minimum, one.
Yeah. So the trade deadline is upon us, man. We got all these other stories we could talk about, man. But shout out to Russell Westbrook, man. Always a good dude. He remembered when he congratulated a reporter who got a promotion to be on camera with the LA Clippers, man. So both of them, Russell Wilson and Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is a good dude, man. Shout out to him. But with the trade deadline approaching, of course, DeJounte Murray looks like to be the free agent that everybody wants. He's linked to the Knicks, now to the Bucs, now to the Lakers. And the Hawks are, I don't know what the Hawks are doing. I don't know if they're selling, because if they're selling, there's a lot of other pieces that you could get rid of too, other than DeJounte. But it just didn't work. I think if the Hawks accept this Lakers trade of D'Angelo Russell to a third team and get who's the person that we supposed to get? Austin Reeves and a first round pick or something like that. It is you should fire the entire front office, and I'm petitioning to get Wrestler to sell the team, because that is the most, you literally traded 3 picks last year for this dude. Last year. And now you're going to try to trade him, and he's clearly the most complete and probably the best player on our team.
Don't say that too loud. Chinese weather balloons will ascend from the heavens and end our podcast for telling the truth. I've been saying this for as long as I possibly can. I hate that I have to watch my team perpetually dive deeper into this stupidity. But that seems to be our only game plan, is to be worse and worse and worse. DeJounte Murray is the little bit of grit and grind we have on this team. He is, his shooting can be erratic. It is what it is, but he gives the best effort of anybody on our team consistently. And as a team who has always and really continues to have questions on effort, I don't see a reason why or how we can get rid of him. Everything that I've seen that's been offered to us is a slap in the face as far as I'm considered. And eventually we have to ask, if nobody can play next to Trey, is it everybody else or is it Trey? Y'all know how I felt about this for a very long time. I honestly don't think that this team is very bad. I think that if we could trade Trey, get $40 million in cap space, or for a $40 million player or two and some picks, I think that this team could get out of the doldrums of the Eastern Conference and actually compete. But as long as we're going to hitch our wagon to Trey, we're going to score a bunch of points and not play defense. You might as well trade all of these guys, let them go somewhere and be like Kevin Huerter and play for a team that can win, or be like John Collins and go to Utah where they can try to compete. Don't waste your time in Atlanta if we're not trying to win and we're just trying to sell tickets. We need to play the Washington Generals and be the Harlem Globetrotters like we are.
So another person linked to other teams in trading is Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma, when it comes to Kyle Kuzma, it's never about really the ability on the court. It's about everything that comes with signing Kyle Kuzma. Like, when he said in the press conference talking about Detroit at this point, it's like, don't be that team. Mind you, Detroit is 4-36, but the Washington Wizards 7-32. It ain't like they were too much better. And then Detroit went to Washington and beat them 129-117. So like Kyle Kuzma is one of those guys on the court. I would love to see him, especially at like a defensive team that needs scoring. He definitely would make sense, and I think he has a decent contract. I don't think it's overpay in terms of being tradable. He's another guy that could be on the move too soon.
Decent contract. I really hate this for Kyle Kuzma because he's been able to get the majority of the stench off of him by playing next to Jordan Poole. This is a nasty reheat at the absolute worst time. I think that what he said, while I understand what he said, he probably shouldn't have voiced it, especially from the position that you're in. But at the end of the day, I think he's going to be a valuable player. Hell, I'm sure the Lakers would love to have him back at this point. And to me, that's intriguing. And I think that he's still got to be a guy who gets moved at the trade deadline because he can score. And you're right, on a defensive team.
Ooh, him and Philly? That'd be pretty good. At the 3, Tobias at the 4, Joel at the 5, Maxey at the 1. I don't know who's at the 2. That's a lot of scoring.
They got that one lineup right now that's like plus 163. They might be in the situation of we not playing with what we got. And I can understand that.
Yep. So don't be the meme you made. The Clippers have a new stadium. As Shaq says, a new place to lose. They are actually going to build a wall of fans, and it basically is designed so there's no breaks. And so it looks like all fans are watching at the same time, and it's very difficult to shoot. They released the rules for the wall. It's 51 uninterrupted rows of fans. They cannot cheer for the opposing team, cannot wear opponents' gears, and tickets can be resold in the Clippers marketplace only. And I want to look this up. They have a disclaimer where they can remove you if they catch you breaking these rules, like cheering for the opposite team while sitting in the wall. They want this to be the Clippers to have the most advantage in the league when it comes to playing in this arena.
So this is my thing about this, and shout out to Gil at the Don't Chill Gil, whatever his podcast is. He pointed out is that the teams decide, very similar to football, which direction you're going to at the beginning of the game. So, I mean, if you understand that they've created this great wall of Los Angeles over here, then yeah, I'm going to play this in the first half. So when the second half turns around, it's at my back. Now, I think that that's still difficult because now you got to come out and start your game in basically like fourth quarter atmosphere. But if you can survive that, then you'll be fine. But I mean, I guess starting a game like that's if they can get the fans in the seats and loud early in the game, and I think that Baltimore will do that.
It's LA. It's something new. They ain't gonna have no problem selling seats.
Well, it's still the Clippers, and it's like it's not only selling the seats, it's having the people be in the seats and present and loud early. That is not always easy. I mean, we're Atlanta Hawks and Falcons fans. We know how the stadium got to warm up a little bit depending on how you play.
Well, the Hawks, I think most stadiums have this. I think it's really the location. The Hawks have this. They have a section dedicated for only Hawks fans where they have the fat heads and they all get the white T-shirts and the noisemakers and they do all of that stuff. You are not allowed to sit there as an opponent. There is only Hawks fans, and it's really a Hawks pep team that sits there. So most stadiums
the
have
sheer
this.
Magnitude. Like, look at like how this is set up. Nobody has it set up like this.
No, that's what I said. It's the location. Yeah. But all of them have the rules in place of you're able to buy it. You can't buy a ticket if you're a Lakers fan coming to play. You can't sit there. All of those have that. It's just this place is they took it to another level.
Yeah, but it's also like they're just rows and rows and rows and rows of seats. Like typically, like it's a break in the concourse, then it goes up. No, This is all seats, baby. All seats, all humans. And,
like
basketball players have all, they already talk about how it's difficult to practice in like a gym where your depth perception is different because there's a wall behind the backboard versus seats. And now, instead of like a seat and then a concourse, it's just humans for as far as the eye can see. That, I immediately think about players like Ben Simmons when I think about stuff like that.
Why?
Boy,
he ain't a player.
I mean, if he ever came back, this might legit send him into a full anxiety breakdown.
Yep. He'll end up doing something like flicking off everybody, like NC State guard DJ Horn, who flipped off the ref at the end of the game.
Boy, he was sick of that referee. Boy, he said, "Man, hold these."
Now he probably, I don't know if he's been suspended yet, but I'm sure he'll get some type of disciplinary action from the team. But hey, man, I know everybody has wanted to do this at one point or another, and why not do it on national TV?
Every day.
And the thing is, they won the game. They did this and they won the game. That's like, you tried to sabotage and I still won.
Hold these. Yeah, we've all been there. I hope that, make them run some stadiums, do something grueling, because you can't do this on TV. You got to know how to act better than that. You literally have NC State on your chest. You can't represent the school like this. But let it be a stupid college mistake. We made them. Next.
Who are you taking, SGA or Ant Edwards?
I'm taking a lot of really good basketball.
So you copping out?
No. Well, you know what? I'm taking. I don't care about the basketball. SGA won this with his bar, and he's been killing these for about a year now, maybe longer. But he said they talk about me in the post game, but they don't talk about my post game. Oh my God. Woo. Woo. And I love Anthony Edwards. That's my guy. I think he is a dog. But sometimes.
Well, let me intro it. So for the people that are listening, they don't really know what we're talking about. That's why I asked about SGA and Ant. So basically, Ant Edwards says it's hard to shut SGA down when he gets all the calls. You basically can't touch him at any time, which is kind of the same thing they used to say about Jordan in the 80s. And then, of course, SGA responds with his, Drake-like bar of they talk about me from a post-game, not my post-game. I wouldn't be surprised if Drake wrote that. Well, nah, he didn't. But both of them being from Toronto, passive-aggressive is the culture up there. It's hip-hop. This is definitely a Drake bar. I think Ant Edwards is probably the
out of there
best two guard in the league. He's the best two guard in the league right now. I would probably say he's the best two guard in the league.
Devin Booker gonna have something to say about that.
He is because let's talk about it. We here. This is the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. We come to the end of the SplashCast, episode 136. This is the end of the basketball segment, but I'm gonna talk about it. Devin Booker. Is it because the Suns aren't as good as they're expected to be that he is getting just disrespected in the fact that he doesn't even get talked about? And he be dropping like 30. He's averaging like almost 30 points a game.
Looking.
And nobody's talking about it.
I think that they're in a situation where, to be completely honest, they were probably better with DeAndre Ayton, and DeAndre Ayton was probably better in Phoenix.
27, 7, and 5. 27, 8, and 5. He's averaging 27, 8, and 5, and nobody's talking about him.
Correct. But them losing DeAndre Ayton, I think that's been a detriment to them, especially Bradley Beal hasn't been healthy basically the entire season. So at this point, like, they're playing at a detriment at this point, and I think that they can and will get it together, especially going into the playoffs. But until they do, that's the type, like, that's what you're going to deal with, and nobody wants to hear anything boo-hoo sad story. You got Kevin Durant, you got Bradley Beal, and you're Devin Booker. Figure it out, bro. It's other teams with way bigger problems.
Hold on now. You talking about? I mean, they are 24 and 18. Not like they bad.
But
I mean,
that is.
Look at the teams ahead of them. You got Minnesota, who has a big 3. You have OKC, who has a big 5 players.
Big 5. It's a big 5. Big 4. Dort in the 4.
Just pause this whole conversation. Then you got Denver, who has the defending champion. Then you have the Clippers, who have Paul George and Kawhi, and they have and James Harden plus Russell, and they have been streaking.
But that's the thing. The Clippers came right in, and at first the Clippers gave you a head start. They said, we got to figure this out. And James told y'all, hey, we struggling right now, but we're going to have to figure this out. And once we figure it out, it's going to be a problem. So the Clippers came from behind them in the rankings and passed them. So, yes, you're right. The Clippers are a good team,
but my point is, the only team that's ahead of them that I feel like they should be ahead of is New Orleans. Everybody else.
And the Mavericks. Mavericks got 2 players. Y'all got 3 players.
They're ahead of the Mavericks.
No, they're not.
They're in 6th place right now. I'm looking at the standings right now. They're 6th place in the Western Conference.
6 and 7.
So what I'm saying is, outside of New Orleans, ain't too many. I mean, it is to be what is expected in the West. Outside of New Orleans, I think New Orleans is overachieving. It is to be because, like you just said, Bradley Beal ain't played the whole year. So it's really Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and everybody else. We don't name 2 other Suns. 2. I get 2.
But the other part is you are 3 games away from the Jazz. That's where it you're right. Forward facing, it's not too terribly bad. But it's a lot of you could go from 7 to 10 in a night.
Everybody could. I mean, look at Sacramento. Sacramento they're 23. They're below them. They're 2 games from the Jazz. Dallas is 2.5 games from the Jazz. The Lakers have won a lot of games in the last couple of weeks to be 500. So yeah, you could be 5, but I mean, you also could win 3 in a row, and you could go up to 3rd. The West is so packed that it's difficult for you to look at them and say, oh, they're in 6th place, they're underachieving, and Devin Booker is just getting stats on an empty team when they don't have Bradley Beal. It's them 2, and every other team ahead of them has a big 3, except for New Orleans, which I'm sure they'll end up falling off eventually anyway. So, I mean, you think the Phoenix Suns with Bradley Beal is better than James Harden and the Clippers? Do you think that they're better than OKC? Do you think that they're better than Minnesota?
No, I don't think that they're better than. I think they're about as good as the Clippers. Okay, so this is what I think. The Timberwolves are kind of an outlier because going into the season, nobody would have thought that the Suns would be better than the Timberwolves. But the Timberwolves clearly are just a better team at this point. The Thunder, you're playing experience versus age. So I'll probably give that to the Thunder. The Nuggets are the defending champions. I think that the Suns should be better than the Clippers. I think that the Suns should be better than the Pelicans. I think the Suns should be better than the Kings. Well, everybody else. Outside, even with the Clippers, so I think they should be 4 or 5. Anything else is unacceptable.
They're a half game out of 5.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I'm also saying you got to it's not just being there, it's about maintaining. And it's interesting to see they 7-3 in their last 10 games. They on a 5-game winning streak. So it's interesting to see how it plays out. They need to pass the Pelicans though.
They will. Like I said, I don't believe the Pelicans will be able to sustain that. I think the Pelicans will be a play-in team. I think they'll be 5. I think Sacramento will be 6. I think you got New Orleans, Dallas, LA, and Utah will be battling out for the last, and Golden State once everybody gets back healthy and back and in a groove. I think Golden State will end up being in the play-in as well. So I'm probably taking to circle back. I'm taking the hometown dude. I'm taking Ant, but SGA he's almost unstoppable. It's just Ant is more exciting to watch. SGA is more surgical. He's surgical. He just come down the lane. Hit you with the slow Euro, lay the ball up over you.
I think that as much as I like as much as I like Anthony Edwards, I mean, Jesus, 31 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, and 2.5 steals.
He's a problem.
That's and I ain't even gonna talk about that. But yes, I'm just happy for these 2 guards. Congratulations. I'm not wallowing in my sorrows anymore. Just because you knew something.
The Clippers,
you gotta rehash it a million times.
The Clippers, quietly as kept, have to be, and well, I'll end it on this. I'll go to the outro here. The Clippers quietly need to outplay OKC too, because you made that trade for Paul George and get Kawhi, and you traded away SGA, who was starting to show his powers.
Oh, you already lost that trade. You do not find yourself in a battle that you can't win trying to.
The Clippers
get out of there.
The same thing. It's the same thing as the Rams Lions. If the Clippers end up winning a championship, then it's worth it. It's worth it because they don't have one as an organization. It's worth it. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of episode 136 of the SplashCast, the Around the League edition, Monday Night Raw. We talked about our HBCU news around the culture, our football news around the league, and finished up with basketball. If you're listening, go back and listen to the pregame. We talked about tennis with Coco Golf, tailor-made Sunday Red with Tiger, as well as we laughed at people falling and biting themselves. In order, if we didn't miss anything, take us out.
We never did, never have. Thank you guys for rocking with us again. Fantastic Monday Night Raw. We look forward to seeing you guys again next Monday. Saturday morning live will actually be Sunday morning live. The first game is at 2:00. So me and Reggie will hop on Sunday morning to go over the new games. With that said, thank you guys for rocking with us, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Number one, more Black baseball. And while we're talking about baseball, once again, shout out to the Braves re-signing Alex Anthopoulos. It's the one piece of joy that we have. I know that we talked about it last week, but if you missed the show, this is the first time you heard it. And if this is the second time you heard it, we believe in affirming positive affirmations around here. Go Braves, more Black baseball. Number 2, more Black cowboys and cowgirls. Rodeo is coming up here in Houston. Prepare yourselves. Chili cook-off on the way. Prepare your appetites. Then number 3, the historically Black college and university you went to, your cousin went to, your auntie went to, somebody who you knew went to, one of your homeboys. Send some money over there. I really mean that. These schools really need these donations. It allows us to educate more African-American people. So please support. Number 2, the historically Black college university in your neighborhood, the one you go to, cookouts, homecomings, step shows, to be around your people, whatever it may be. Send some money over there. You go over there, you go eat up the set out, you drinking the liquor, you having the time of your life. Send some money so we can continue to do that. And then finally, the greatest learning institution in all the world, the one that gave me a degree, the one that gave Reggie a degree, the reigning, as far as I like to say, the ultra premium homecoming experience. One of one. See y'all at Pirates Island this year. Homecoming on the way. I'll be there. The Hampton University. We only ask for $18.68 on behalf of the year that our beloved university was founded. Send the money. Send the check. Cash App the bands. Always remember, like, follow, subscribe. Norwood out, Reggie out. See y'all soon. Adios, mi amigos. God is love. And all of that.
Peace. Love y'all. We out of here.
And
Stay
then go
safe.
to confetti.
Peace.
This is the SplashCast weekly schedule. You can find us on Monday Night Raw. That is the Around the League edition where we cover all of the major leagues around the league. Tuesday is the ATL edition, Braves, Falcons, Hawks. Wednesday is when the playlist comes out. It's a SplashCast 24, 12, or 36 pack, just depending on the music. Thursday, for everybody who was not able to catch us live on Monday, they can catch up there on the Around the League edition. And then Saturday, of course, we bet beers for Saturday Morning Live. If you ever need to find us, we can be found at thesplashcast.com and, of course, via Instagram at thesplashcast.
I was born up a star, I'm an alien. I'ma sell out arenas in the stadiums. I got my gang and my family ain't trading them. Niggas hate, let them drown, I ain't saving them. I turn the pain into profit, should be proud of him.
Benjamin in my pocket and I'm counting them. Backstage full of people I don't like, so I say amen. Gotta pray for the pigment. Every year gotta change my alias. B-O-T-Y, shawty like the name and the stain to my soul. Had to track my roles while they watch and they mad. And they mad. And they mad. Pull it with a fit and they mad. Show money bags in my backpack. Introducing one your granddad. Stepping on rap, motherfucker like.
I was born up a star, I'm an alien. They don't wanna work, these niggas don't wanna work, don't wanna work. I was born up a star, I'm an alien. I'ma sell out arenas in the stadiums. I got my gang and my family, ain't trading them. Niggas hate, let them drown, I ain't saving them. I turn the pain into profit, should be proud of him.